All right, I think we're recording now. Okay, so we're just back from break. So I hope everyone had a happy new year and is looking forward to, the final few months of their senior year. It's kind of exciting. I haven't seen you guys yet. I'm going to see you guys tomorrow. And I'm going to announce in the classroom and in class and here that I know that we're supposed to have a review day tomorrow and a test day on Friday. I think I'm actually going to change that because I really do want us to finish this. So tomorrow and Friday, we are going to finish the next 35 lines or so of this, maybe a little more than that. So we've got to hit 15 to 20 lines a day, and then we're going to have a test next week. I'm going to go ahead and start us off. You do not have a homework quiz tomorrow. That would be maybe a little mean even for me. However, I'm going to keep up with these videos and go over markup. So we stopped at 525, I believe, last class. So we're looking at 526. So if you want to just recap a little bit for those of you that maybe forgot everything that we have done, remember that we are witnessing through Aeneas's eyes the destruction of Troy. We've seen Aeneas do several questionable activities, including disguising himself as a Greek in previous lines, and now he is looking down from the roof onto what is going to be the death of Priam and his family. He saw, remember, Hecuba in the previous lines and all her daughters sitting in a circle around the sacred altars and around the sacred tree. Remember, we had also seen Priam taking up his youthful armor, and Hecuba in just the previous lines had basically told him, WTH, you're too old for this nonsense. Even if Hector were here, he couldn't save us now. The only thing that can save us now is the gods. And she has him sit at the altar. All right, and as soon as he sits down, we have another explosive scene. And you can always tell an explosive scene is coming up when you see the Ecce. The Ecce is like, behold. Remember, it's that big announcement. Something is happening. So let's look at these lines. A couple of clues always. Remember, we do have the period down here. That's a clue. I would always suggest looking for those things that you can spot right away. I imagine you guys can spot the fugit as a verb, right? And if fugit's a verb, lustrat is a verb too. Sorry, it's been a little while since I've done this. Remember, even from Latin 1, the T's and the NT's were verbs. Okay, so that really hasn't changed. Other things that we might be able to spot right away without scanning the line, without looking through. Look here, we have a per tela and the per hostis. Per is a preposition. Remember prepositions, right? In, de, ob, sub, all of those little words that tell us place, where, time, when. Per is one of those. And prepositions will always pattern with a noun, and they will pattern either with the accusative or the ablative. Now, if we're trying to figure out whether it's accusative or ablative, we can always scan the line. Okay. Hold on, I need a pencil. So remember that Virgil does like to trick us with this is at the end of the line. And frequently the is at the end of the line actually is a long es. So we just need to keep that in mind. He does that frequently when the is is at the end of the line. Excuse me, and we've seen it several times so far in these lines. All right, so we have our little dot, and then we go short, long. Okay, this is a short A. Now, because it's a short A, and because it's patterning with a preposition, we know that it must be either accusative or ablative. Well, a short A is not going to be ablative, but it can be accusative plural. We've seen this many times, and hopefully by now also you'll recognize that tela here is from telum, meaning weapon, typically a thrown projectile weapon of some kind. All right, so that tells us that this is accusative, and because prepositions pattern with either the accusative or the ablative, we can tell as accusative, then hostess is accusative, and because of the is going to an es, all right, Bob's your uncle. We're good. All right, now look through the lines. Can we see any other prepositions? And I do. I see one right away. I see this day. Day is also a preposition. Now this one is a little bit easier because of the kade. Now you can go ahead and scan the line if you want to make sure that it's not a long E, but I don't know how it would be. But you never know, right? And so if you want to double check and you're like, all right, Ms. Campbell, I'm going to check you, go for it. Boom, it is a short E. It's a short E, and therefore it is an ablative. Remember, those third declension ablatives are in fact, short e's. And if you remember your prepositions, you remember that day does in fact go with the ablative. And it goes with the ablative every time. Just like pair always goes with the accusative, day always goes with the ablative. And if you don't remember that, you can always look it up. In the dictionary, it will say day patterns with preposition. Hold on. Here, I'm going to show you. Because I think sometimes you guys forget this, and it's useful information when you're trying to figure out what a word means or how to mark up a word. Here, where day. Here, day. Can you see that? Preposition plus ablative. Therefore, every time you see a day, there must be an ablative next to it. There can be no question. And we talked about that. I know you learned it in Latin 1, and we probably talked about in Latin 2. I don't know that I actually emphasized it much in Latin 3, just because, you don't think about it, it's something that we do often, but maybe that's helpful for you guys. Day will always go with an ablative, just like pair will always go with an accusative. Okay. There's only one, maybe two prepositions out there that will pattern with either the accusative or the ablative, and in is the most famous. But other than that, prepositions, they have one bestie. Okay. It's just the one, ablative or accusative. Okay. They're kind of picky like that. All right. So those things I thought were a little bit easier for us to spot. Now let's look at the stuff that's a little harder to spot. Okay. Ecce autem, we have ecce, that's just, behold. Autem, however, those, you need to mark those up really. Ecce is technically a verb if you want to. It's just an exclamatory behold. Elapsus, now elapsus ends in US. And we have a couple of names, and we know that these are names because they both start with capital letters. We have Pyrrhus and Polites. And I think I told you guys last time that Polites is in fact another name for Neoptolemus, who is of course the son of Achilles. Because he's ending in es here, he is actually nominative. I believe they would have told you that in the book. So we know that he is nominative and he is singular because it's a name. All right, names can't be plural. You can only have singular names. But why does it end in es? Because it's a Greek name, and that's what they do. Okay. It's actually eta sigma, but that's something that you can learn in your ancient Greek class in college later on. Okay. That tells me with this comma right here. So I'm trying to do this and not look. So look at this comma right here. And I'm looking at this and I'm looking at Pyrrhus in the middle. And I'm like, you know what? This has got to be nominative singular. Why does it have to be nominative singular? It's going with the Polites. Virgil and other authors love to do this. They'll throw the adjective out there first, and you just got to know that it's going to go with the name next to it, and it creates this general word picture. Do you see how they love to split those? They love to split prepositional phrases, noun adjectives. So if you have a nominative singular name at one end, and you have something that could be a nominative singular adjective at the other, odds are they go together. All right, the last thing we have in this is Phyre. Right here is this ends with an I, name. All right, so if it ends with an I and it's a masculine name, okay, second declension, the long I can only be one thing. It has to be genitive. Okay, you remember us, e, o, e, e, so, see. If we haven't watched the high pause in a while, I'm going to post those videos. You guys should watch high pause again, okay? I don't know that I'm going to watch them in class. I watch them in level 1. There's only so much high pause one can take in a day. So those names kind of give you a clue because the names can only be singular. Okay, when you see the ES, go, wow, this is probably some Greek ending thing. Let me go look it up. I bet the book tells you what it is. And then when it switches into others, like this long I, all right, that's a nominative, or I'm sorry, genitive singular nominative name. Listen to me. Listen to me. It's obviously, I'm still on vacation break. All right, it's genitive singular because it's a name. All right, so it could not, you can't be plural. You can't have Pyrrhuses running around. There's not two of them. There's only one. All right, that gives us the first line. Now, the next line, you guys might notice something, okay? Because I just talked about this Pyrrhus with this long I, some of you may have gone, wait a second. First of all, why are all these names starting with P? That's a real pain in the patukas, okay? But the second thing you might learn or look at and be like, wait a second, Miss Campbell, that's an I. Oh my gosh. If that's an I and that's a name and that's genitive, and this is an I and this is a name, I bet it's genitive too. And you would be right, okay? Absolutely right. Another thing that could give you a clue here is the naturum. If you scan the line, you're going to discover that this O is long. And look at those orum. Remember? E, orum, is, os, is. You've really got to listen to the high pause. Again, I obviously listened to it this morning with my level 1s. And I wake up to it in my nightmares and it doesn't go away. All right. So those two genitives, I think once you like sort of look at it, pull it apart, and once I walk you through it, like it becomes a little bit more of an aha moment, but it's something that you kind of have to practice and just, get comfortable with. And the minute you tell yourself, I can't do this, you won't. You've got to get back from that thought process. Instead of, I can't, think about, how can I improve? What am I doing right? Because you are doing some things right. All of you are. You guys are making great progress and great strides. Okay, unus, okay, means one. It ends in US. It's nominative singular. Bada bing, bada boom, you're done. All right, there are the first two lines. And those weren't too bad. All right, let's go to the next two lines. All right, things get a little bit more icky here. Oh my gosh, excuse me. This is like a cough of 5 weeks. The first thing I see, and you can go ahead and scan the line if you want to. All right, scanning the line can always help you. All right, you're like, short A, waka, short A, waka waka. All I can think of is, what was it? What's that fuzzy bear's name from the Muppets? Oh, Jeezy Crazy guys, I can't remember. Fozzie? Was it Fozzie? Help me out, guys. Tell me in class. Or just email me the answer. This is so sad. Okay. So I know that I have short A, short A. Oh, short A, short A's. We have a singular here and a singular here. We've got a little et connecting the two together. So we've got some clues going on. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on. Okay. We have fugit. Now, it would be helpful to know what the heck fugit means. And some of you might remember. Remember Geta. Sorry, Geta, chapter 11, book 1. He runs away and they tattoo or burn the letters F-U-G into his forehead. Fugit, because he was a runaway, because he fled. We get fugitive from this. This is one of those vocab words that I need to put on your vocab list as a need to know, because it shows up all the time and it means to flee or to run away. Now, we don't have things running away, right? We know that this must be referring to the last nominative singular thing, polites. Okay, so my guess is, because it has to do with running and we need a person to be running and we have someone running through weapons and through enemies, I'm like, wait a second. I bet these go together. And if these two things go together, that means that this long is and this ibis, okay, not that I thought they were anything other than what they are, but in case I was thinking like maybe it's a US, maybe you thought US nominative singular, it's not. Okay, look at this porticibus. Okay, the ibis ending, sorry guys, I'm doing this at an angle. Ibis is going to be either dative or ablative plural. When they get the long is here, it's going to be dative or ablative plural. Remember the rule. Is there a preposition in front of this? No, there isn't. Ask yourself, is this a human being? Well, portico is a colonnaded hallway. That is not a human being. Therefore, this is ablative and not dative. And longus is right there, and long portico makes sense to me. Those two things are going together. Look at the et. Look at the way you have word, word, verb. Just like you had word, word, verb, word, word, verb. This is what we call mirroring. Okay. With this being the, what do I want to say? This is the noun and this is the adjective. In this case, he's actually reversed it. This is the adjective and this is the noun, but it still gives us this beautiful mirroring of the terms. And it also gives us a very clear word picture. However, it ends in short A. Short A can't be ablative. What can short A be? Well, it could be a nominative singular. If we weren't sure of anything else, it could be nominative singular, but wait a second. Okay, the et's connecting to these verbs together, and we just said that the subject of fugit was polites. Do we really think you changed subjects here? Okay, maybe not. What else could it be? Well, as we learned up here, short A can also be neuter. And we've run into a lot of neuters so far. It can be neuter plural, but wait, we have a singular verb, so it can't be neuter plural, or it can be accusative plural. Well, okay, accusative plural actually makes more sense, especially since lustrat means to move or to evade. And atria means like hallways or atriums. So can empty atriums move? Well, no, they can't. But can someone move through empty atriums? Huh, yes, they can. So as you look at this, this is actually going to be nominative accused or accusative plural. Listen to me. Listen to me. It's going to be accusative plural. Okay. And that's how you have to sort of like work your way through it. Figure out what the words mean. Figure out your scansion. Okay. Figure out what the verb means too, because that verb's really going to do it for you. If lustrat meant is shining light in empty rooms, then that would work. All right, the last thing here is Saukias, and that's going to be nominative singular because it ends in US. All right, I'm going to just, because that's 3.5 lines or so, we can talk about the rest of this next class, but let me go ahead and stop this here, and then I will talk about the translation later.